Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at everything very briefly because today is a Wednesday, which means we are doing a live stream, so feel free to join me on that. Patreon link in the description below. Right, so we'll start off with Ethereum on the weekly. So first of all, what we see is a break of this formation. We've seen a break of this formation in the past though, by the way, so it's just more of a guide. And to be honest, if we break out this time round and continue up, it's $7,000 is where we're going. I quite like the idea of that happening, to be honest with you. We've got the Ichimoku cloud's got a green portion over here. We've got a cross below the cloud. Cheeky spans above the cloud as well, and obviously so is price action. So that is a pump signal in itself, and a pump signal beyond the $4,000 peak over here. Well, 4,600 actually from the previous peak is around 7,000. So it seems reasonable that we can achieve that, but the money flow index is 86, we'll call it. We've got one drive hidden bearish divergence on the money flow on the RSI as well. So with that comes the idea that, okay, if we do go up and we do make our way to 7,000, it is very likely to be a top, to be honest. And you know, in each one of these increments on the way up, first of all, we've got 4,000, which we were just ever so slightly below before, weren't we? Just this week. So, you know, 4,000 obviously, 4,600 obviously, and then 7,000 basically. That's your Ethereum. And Ethereum's still looking reasonable, to be honest, compared to most of the things. So we might as well have a look at the dominance chart. So the dominance chart is still bouncing here from the 50 exponential, as it did in the past. We got a drive, well, two actually, a hidden bullish divergence. We got regular bearish divergence leading to the top. So I suppose there's a rock and a hard place in this instance. So we've got support, we've got resistances all here. You could easily see that move up to get a rejection and continuation down. This looks more like a top than we've seen in a long time because of the top signals that we received over here. But you know, who knows? Nobody really knows. Let's have a look at the daily, see what's going on the daily. At the moment, we're pushing the 10 exponential. We've been rejected from that pretty much over the last week, and if we break that, then the next area is going to be 62.39, and then obviously you got these horizontals up here as well as the moving averages. So still bearish on the daily, still bearish on the weekly, mostly. Excuse me. The 4-hourly is starting to change a little bit here to go bullish. So we've reclaimed moving averages, got a positive cross, but we don't have a green portion of the cloud. And if we were to move up, there's a death cross here, 62.90, and obviously another death cross at the horizontal at 63.50. So 63.50-ish area is like a big resistance across many time frames here, and so we'll be seeing what goes on around there. I think it's more likely to come back down into the upper 50s. That's the most likely scenario as it stands at the moment, despite obviously seeing a bounce at the moment. I think it's all going to go back up. I know what people are thinking. They're thinking, dollar move up, dollar bad. Well, the dollar has moved up. It has bounced from this support, which, you know, I suppose is exactly as expected. But that doesn't mean that everything's going to go down from now. This is also still a bearish chart, still. And we're not really getting any major bottoming signals on it either. So we've managed to, over the last few days, get above the 50 exponential for the first time in, well, since we lost it, really, since February. So that in itself has slightly changed behaviour. But I'm not really seeing any reason for this to continue up massively immediately. It will likely continue up inevitably at some point. We've got golden crosses over here on the daily, which like to get on the 4-hour, which like to get retested, but all other time frames are bearish. And if for whatever reason, and I'm not suggesting that they are going to, but for whatever reason they lower rates, which I'd find, you know, hard to imagine that they would, then yeah, well, I mean, if they do lower rates, then obviously the dollar does go down. But if the dollar goes down and breaks down below here, it might be pretty bad for the dollar. And, you know, I'm not going to pretend to know what's going on at the Fed. But I don't really see any reason to lower rates. I don't really see a reason to do it. So I don't think they will. And I think the market's sort of pricing that in, as markets often do, pricing that sort of stuff. US 500, basically the S&P, bearish divergence all over the place. Money flow index is relatively high, and if we move over to the daily, Obviously, we've made new all-time highs. We're continuing to move, get supported on moving averages. Not any bearish divergence really to be worried about on the daily here. And the money flow index on the 4-hourly has sunk to dramatic lows. So I'll be looking for this one to continue to make new all-time highs again. It might take a little dip, shave off a few quid here and then continue on up. I honestly don't see this as a problem at the moment. A little dip further and then bounce back up. If it does dip deeper, 6,200 should be the place to catch it from. So I think we've had a brief overview of how the markets are looking. Bitcoin, really, if you want to break out on Bitcoin, it's 118,400. It's more or less the same as it has always been. This 4-hourly area, once that's reclaimed, you get a little rally. We've gone down below it. We get rejected from it today. So for 118,400, see that break, you should see continuation. And then obviously the big resistance is up here, 120,000. So there is a range here, and it's a bit of a messy one to say the least. But we're talking around, well, it's really quite a small range. Whichever direction it chooses to break within this 2.7% range should get continuation for a little bit. But I'm not massively worried about any of it, to be honest with you. Let it go up, let it go down, let it do its thing. The cycle, as far as I'm concerned, is still very much in play. Just sit back and enjoy that cycle for what it's worth, because it will come to an end relatively soon, as you all know. My expectation is something like this. It was like this for years, and I'm expecting us to make our way to a new high on the total 2 between now and September. You might look at this and go, oh, he's just drawn that in. He's just drawn that in, hasn't he? He's just drawn that in. Well, I'm sure there's people who watch this channel, regularly, who'll tell you, especially the patrons, who'll tell you that, actually, no, this has been my expectation in this entire consolidation, that we will end up here somewhere higher than we have ever been between now and September. And obviously now you can see that from this support on the total 2 to the peak, it went up 76%. Looks like it's, well, over halfway there, I'd say, at least. I don't know where the peak is going to be on this one, but my expectation was that it was always going to make another one. And it's done a fair old move so far. So far, so good. Enjoying the ride, having a nice time. High, low structure. Looks like to me we're going to keep going up. But between now and September is my expectation. Right. So that's that. If you're looking for a more in-depth, intricate view on individual altcoins, feel free to join me on the Patreon. There's links for that. And maybe I'll see you there tonight. Otherwise, hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.